Hey! Hello! I've been thinking, the weather is really nice outside. I mean, the summer is here, we've got really nice hot weather here in the UK. I need to stretch my legs, and I mean, what better thing to do on a sunny, warm day than go to your local record shop, my favorite one, the Sound Machine. It's been a while since I took you there, and if you're new here, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but it's a really nice record shop here in Reading, UK, called the Sound Machine, and they sell vintage vinyl, basically, and CDs and cassettes, and you name it. Yeah, it's a second-hand record shop, and it is my favorite one. And like I said, we haven't been there together for a while, so let me take you there and see what they have in their crates. Let's go! I'm back. Yes, and what a trip this one was to the Sound Machine. I have to say, it's usually filled with surprises because you never know what they're going to have in their crates. But this time around, I was actually blown away. As you saw in the clips, it was really dominated by late 80s, early 90s, and actually into the 90s house and techno records from labels like R&S, Rising High, Warp. They had some factory releases there as well, and the list goes on and on and on. It's just filled to the brim with great dance labels, really. Thankfully, I have most of them already in my record collection, so I will save that money for my next trip in perhaps a week or two and see if I can find something else. But I did pick up some records. Of course I did. I can't leave there empty-handed, really. I don't think I ever did that with the Sound Machine. I always walked out with at least 1 or 2 records at a minimum. So yeah, what did I pick up? We'll go through that, but first and foremost I must say whoever owned this collection before, because I spoke to the guys in Sound Machine and it was one collector who sold off his collection of dance records or electronic techno house, and he took really well care of his collection. They were in such great condition, I have to say, so yeah. It was really a treat. To begin with, what I picked up, this one to begin with, I already put it in an anti-static in a sleeve. It is a blue vinyl record, as you can see, with no center labels at all. So to be able to see if you're playing A side or B side, you have to read the etchings near the center on this one. But it's a stunning, stunning record, of course, in blue vinyl. Can never have too much colored vinyl, in my opinion. And this all comes from this one, Air Liquid. Yes, this is a great constellation called Air Liquid, of course, with If There's No Gravity, and also 3 other tracks, Auroral Beltside. Whew. What a title, Auroral Beltside. Am I reading that wrong? Have to excuse me, I'm from Sweden. And then we have Stratostatic, great track, and then the best of them, the THX is on, or just THX is on. It is such a great track. But all of these wonderful tracks, hard to categorize Air Liquid, really. Sometimes it could be techno, sometimes bordering on acid house, and sometimes pure ambient. So they are in that like twilight between all these genres, and I always loved listening to Air Liquid. It's candy for your ears. And if you're wondering why I have cardboard in this one, it's because I have the record in an inner sleeve on this side, and on the other side of the cardboard I kept the original outer plastic thing here. It's a PVC plastic, this one, and they are known to do off-gassing and things like that. I had a couple of records from the early 90s that were packaged like this, usually picture discs and things like that, and they look horrendous today, some of them. But this one actually wasn't affected, what I can see or hear, so I was really lucky. But I keep them separated like this, just in case you're wondering as well. And then we go on to the next one. I'll reach down here in my bag. Here we go. Yeah, this is a record from Rising High. So this is a generic sleeve from the record company Rising High. But if we pull out the record here, we can see, ooh, there we go. This is The Hypnotist. And this is a remix of The House Is Mine, a track that I really, really like. But I didn't buy it because of that one. I'm not too keen on this remix. I think it's okay, but not the best of them. I prefer the original, and I think there was a second remix as well. I have them in my collection here somewhere. But I actually bought this one because it's got a great B-side on it, and it's called The Modern Prometheus. And it's a banger of a track. Really, really good one. Really early 90s techno. And I don't know if the camera does it justice, but this is a good example of the nick the records were in. It's absolutely flawless. It looks like it's been never played. It looks like it's brand new. It's an absolute stunning piece of vinyl, this one. And that goes for all of them, I have to say. But yeah, the next one I picked up was this one. This is Spirit Feel with Forbidden Chant on the Novamute label. That was the house techno offshoot of Mute Records back in the early 90s. And I think they're still going strong, actually. It wasn't that long ago, a couple of years ago, since I bought my last Novamute record, and it was a brand new one at that point. So I think they're still going strong, actually. Yeah, but this one is from 1993, yeah, and when I picked this one up, I wasn't immediately familiar with it, but there was something familiar with the title Forbidden Chant, so I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pick it up. I mean, most of these records that I'm showing you were around £3 or £4 each, so yeah, it was a no-brainer. And on the other hand, I was thinking, I never picked up a Novamute record that I really didn't like, so yeah, I picked it up. And I was, of course, right to do that, because when I listened back to this one, it was the track that I felt so familiar with, or yeah, the title at least. It's a progressive house track, a bit of a dubby feel to it at times, and it is such a great track. And on the B-side of this one, you get the track called Positive Vibration, the guitar version, I assume it is. There's a lot of electric guitars in it, or the GTR version, as it says here. It's okay track, yeah. But the second track on the B-side, Yield Not to Temptation, that is another great track. But you want to go for the A-side on this one, trust me, if you're going to pick this one up. It is another banger. Really, really good. And then we go for the next one here. Oh yes, some hard-hitting techno acid from Robert Armani. Yeah, he sounds very Italian and happens to be released on an Italian label called ACV, but he's actually from Detroit, if I'm not mistaken. And his name is not Armani. His surname is not Armani, but it sounds good. There is a very interesting story around that, but I won't drag you into that one this time around. We'll save that for another episode. But yeah, this is Robert Armani. No one does techno or acid techno like Robert Armani, in my opinion. And I have a lot of Robert Armani in my collection, but I never seen this one before. And if you can see up here, I don't know how good it works on camera, but it says the best of Robert Armani. I would never think that I would see a record called the best of Robert Armani ever. But here we go. Here it is. And some great tracks on it as well. Ambulance 2, follow up to the song that we all know. Sing along, Ambulance. Yeah. And then we have Circus Bells, of course. I think that's the best or the most well-known track from Robert Armani, because it got remixed in '93 as well. And then we have Armani Tracks Part 2, Watch It, live in Rome. And then the B-side of this one, I was even more stumped when I read that. It's a mega mix of Robert Armani. Yes, you heard that right, a mega mix. I was like, really, a mega mix? But it's a really good mix. Of course it is, because it's all the tracks I just mentioned, and then some. And it's all Robert Armani, and it hits hard as...
as the children say nowadays.
That's how hard it hits. So I'm really glad to have this one. Armani Tracks Part 2, I didn't have that one before. And Watch It, live in Rome, just for those two tracks. It's worth picking up, I think. Another one, £3. Hey, can't go wrong. And then over to a classic one. This is Human Resource and Dominator, and these are the remixes. I picked this one up when it was released. Was it in 92 or even 91? Still have it here in my collection somewhere, which had the original one and I think one or two other mixes, which I thought was okay. But I remember back in the day when I went to a club in Copenhagen and they played a mix of Dominator that ever since then been etched into my mind. I was like, what is this mix? I never heard anything like it. So my hopes were really high when I saw this one. I was like, yes, I'm going to pick this one up. For some reason, I never found this out in the wild in the 90s. So yeah, here it is. in my hands in my record collection now. So it starts out on one of the sides by a remix by Joey Beltram, which is really good. And that wasn't the mix that I remember hearing back in the day. And I was convinced for years now it was the Joey Beltram mix that I was referring to in my head, the one that I heard in the club in Copenhagen, which, by the way, was called Krithuset. Yeah, but never mind. Yes, then I turned it over, and yes, I just had to listen for a couple of seconds, and I was back in Krithuset in Copenhagen and listening to Dominator. This was the mix. It's a Frank de Wolf mix, and it's just a stunning remix of Dominator. I mean, Dominator, it's a very much of a product of its time. It has that Hoover sound that you're probably familiar with. And some people might say it's very dated, but I'm not one of those people. I still feel it hits so hard. It's such a banger of a track, even with that Hoover sound and bells, whistles, and the rest of it. And of course, the rapping. But yeah, the Frank de Wolf mix on this one is the one to go for if I have anything to say about it. And then to round off things, I got this one, yet another RNS release. This is a compilation called In Order to Dance 4. Yeah. So this was released in many different formats. This is a double LP, not a gatefold, unfortunately, but it does house 2 LPs in it. And filled of great tracks released by RNS and their subsidiary label called Apollo. And I never picked this one up back in the day because I do have a lot of RNS and Apollo records still in my record collection, and I bought them back in the day. But it did have some gems, this one. But I had a friend who picked up a variant of this compilation, and it wasn't this one. It wasn't the CD. No, it was a box set that he got his hands on. And I remember it was like a very plain black box, really. I think it had a sticker on it saying In Order to Dance, something like that. But it did house 5 or 6 albums in it, so it was a massive compilation. So what we get on this one is loads of great tracks, some in different mixes than what you got from the CD version versus the box version that I just mentioned. So they were all a bit different for some of the remixes and the track listing, of course. But yeah, I was thoroughly impressed with that box set that he got back in the day. And I remember in the middle of it, on the outside of a box, there was this circuitry and a small speaker, and you could push a button, and a voice, a sampled voice, said "In Order to Dance" or something with the future, or "We're on a journey," or something like that. I can't really remember exactly what he said, but if I find a clip of it or here on YouTube, perhaps I'll put it in here.
We invite you to join us on our sonic voyage fast forward into the future. RNS Records 92. On a mission, on a mission, on a mission, on a mission.
This is a great album. That's all I can say. Got great tracks on it. One of my favorite releases on RNS Records is Mundo Musik's Andromeda. That's the opening track on this one. Then you have other great things from Sun Electric, CJ Boland, and Future, Rise From Your Grave in a great Morley's Universe mix. Dave Angel's Bounce Back, and the list goes on and on and on. DJ Hell's My Definition of House Music, and so forth and so on. It is a great compilation, and even if I have some of these in their original 12-inch versions or formats, this is a great thing to just put on, and you get this really good blend of all the RNS and Apollo artists, really. So I was really glad to get my hands on this one. But I have to point something out. Can you see this beautiful flower on the back? There is actually the track listing on that one in gold lettering, so you have to really keep it in the right angle to read it. Whoever came up with that was brilliant. But yeah, great records that I picked up from the Sound Machine this time around. I really hope you enjoyed this, going with me for a bit of a crate digging in my favorite record shop. Perhaps that was something that was to your liking, and who knows, you might pass by Reading this summer. Why not stop by and go into the Sound Machine and look for yourself? They always have great records in every week. And yeah, that's just it, basically. I'll be back on Friday with yet another installment of my newly started series, which is Crescendo. Someone told me it's not Crescendo. That's your Swinglish coming through or something like that. It's Crescendo Friday. That's what it's called, my new series. Yeah. So that's it. Until then, you all take care of yourself. And as usual, I bid you adieu. No, wait. There was actually one more thing. I actually picked up a CD as well. I nearly forgot about that. This is something that I don't think many people know about me when it comes to the genres of music that I'm listening to, or even bands that I'm listening to. But this is something that I found at Sound Machine that I didn't have by this particular band. And yeah, like I said, you probably don't know this about me, but this is...
It seems to be coming this way. Oh.